Well, hello again. We're back with Toots on Tuesday, number 9. And today, what are we doing, Pauline?
I think I'm going to teach you blanket stitch applique on your machine.
Well, that's exciting because, as I said last time, I haven't done anything with blanket stitch before, so...
Well, it's not hard. It's not hard. But, you know, as I said, a lot of people do it by hand, but we're going to do it by machine.
Because we like quick results.
That's right. We've got to get it done and dusted. So, Joey, we've got set up on the machine here the tools that I'm going to recommend you use.
And what do we have?
So we have the sew slip mat. So that's a little white
sew slip mat here.
Rolled up little item there. Mm-hmm. That's the slippery mat that's on the bed of the machine. And, you know, I talk about this in all of my lessons and all of my YouTube videos because it is the best thing you can have on your sewing machine because it grabs to the machine. It's got a cutout for your feed dogs to work when they're up. And what it's going to do is it's going to help glide the fabric around those curves for you.
To give you a nice smooth ride.
Exactly. And really it takes the pressure off your shoulders, which is really good. Then what else do we have there?
So we have the mono poly thread.
We do.
Which in this occasion we have in the bobbin.
Yes.
And we have the titanium top stitch needles.
That's right.
Very nice.
Because we're using the titanium top stitch needles mainly because they stay so sharp. Like we've had this in this machine for I don't know how long, and how many quilts have we made?
Well, since we've had this machine, that same needle has been in there, so
exactly
we haven't changed it.
And we've got a really nice fine embroidery thread on the top.
But before we talk about that, we just need to mention that all of these things that we've just spoken about are available on our website.
That's exactly
and we ship internationally.
We do.
And the website is?
3 W's.
All the W's?
pqw.com.au. And as you said, we ship anywhere in the world. And it's good to buy these. You can go onto our website and you can create a bundle on the one invoice. You know, you can go through and say, I want this and this and this. And it just all puts a collection together for you. And it makes it so easy when you've got the right tools.
Absolutely.
Now, using the titanium top stitch needle, they have a very big eye, so our fine threads are not going to split because we're going with a fine thread, we're going through our backing, our top layer and our fusible batting, so we don't want the thread to split. Now, to learn how to use the monopoly thread, and you know, I've taught you at the machine how to wind your bobbin and that properly, but it takes a little bit of explaining. So I would suggest anybody that wants to learn how to use that monopoly thread to please go to our YouTube channel, because on there I have a video showing you exactly how to wind your bobbin with this monopoly thread, and if you're going to use it in the top of the machine, how to set it up on the top of the machine. And it's very important that people learn how to use this thread properly.
Get the setup just perfect.
Perfect. Because we've got, you know, coming back to our block that you've just completed, because you've just done such a beautiful job with your preparation work here. We've used a cream thread on the top and on the back of this block. But when we do the blanket stitch, using the cream thread on the top, we don't want to put a cream thread in the bobbin. And do you know why?
No.
No. And it's worth explaining. Because we're going to do a blanket stitch, we don't want to see the blanket stitch coming through to the back. We're going to see it, but using an invisible thread, it's going to hide it a lot better than what it would if it was a normal thread. Because if you've not seen a blanket stitch on the wrong side before, it's like a crossover stitch. It doesn't look nice.
And also, that looks so nice already on the back.
It does. It does. So when we stitch around, we're just going to see this little inner out stitch coming through there. We won't see the thread. We'll just see the indentation of the stitch, which will come in nicely. So that's our tools. Now, the other thing that I've had you prepare is a little sample. Here, I just got you to cut a square of fabric and iron the 3 layers together. And what'd you do?
I did that. What you just said. Square of fabric, ironed 3 layers together, and I cut out my little rabbit ears. So that I can do a practice, because I've not done this before, so I don't want to start on the actual real item. I want to
Good
start on
idea.
a practice.
Yeah. And that's always my suggestion to anybody watching. Please set yourself up with a sample, because we need to know that our tension's perfect. We don't want the top thread coming through to the back, and we don't want the back thread coming through to the top. We also want to make sure that our stitch length and width is right before we actually go on to our project. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about setting up your machine and show people.
Up the machine.
Now, I use, and Joey's using, which we both adore, is the Bonina 570. I love my new Bonina 570. It's the QE. So it is. It has so many different settings in here that we can use for blanket stitch. So we're going to choose the right one and give everybody the number stitch that we're going to use, and then we'll set the tensions right, and then we'll let people know what the tension settings are. But for the people at home, this is where you'll need to experiment, because every machine's different. No machine is really the same. So you'll have to find your blanket stitch that suits your machine. You'll have to get your tensions right to suit the threads that you're using, and do this practice. Now, if you don't have a blanket stitch on your machine, don't panic, because you can do a satin stitch like a zigzag around the edge, and it still looks really, really lovely. So let's get you set up.
Let's set up the machine.
And let's get sewing.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to change the panel now to get the right stitch, the right tension, the right length. So you can see here up the top here of the screen, this is our tension setting, and it's set very high for the last thing that I was doing. So I think we're going to have to adjust that. Okay, but we won't do that yet till we choose our stitch, and we'll have to do a bit of a test to see whether we need to change that. So I want you to press this icon here, Joey. Right.
Okay.
So now see how that's brought up different stitches. Now just scroll up. Okay. So we want to use stitch 1312. Press on that. So now see how it's come up on the screen?
Yep. That's good.
Now we have stitch width and stitch length. So we may have to adjust this. I probably think the stitch width needs to go up to about 2.5, which is this little zigzag button up the top here. Oops, there you go. Now length, we're going to trial first to see if we need to adjust this. But I know this tension is going to be too high. And because I'd been sewing before and I had set up my tension, see when I went to this stitch, it went back to my tension that I'd already preset, which is 2.5. But if we want to change that, press on that little icon for me. Now see how this automatically comes up? If I want to adjust the tension so that the bobbin thread is not pulling up to the top too much, I can adjust this down. So see how it's now gone down to 2.25? Or if we want to go up higher, you just press that button. And that's what I love about this machine, because it's not hard to adjust our tension. And I find so many people are too scared to adjust their tension. Your machines are made with the tension to fiddle with them and adjust them.
I think people get a bit frightened of changing the settings on a machine, because you think, well, maybe I won't be able to get back to how I know it worked before.
That's exactly right. So that's how we've changed the settings on this Bonina 570 QE edition. So work out your own settings. So now I noticed here when we come back down to the machine. Okay, Joey.
So we've got the machine set up.
You do.
We've selected the stitch.
Yes.
And we have set the tension and the stitch width.
Exactly.
And we're ready to, I guess, start.
We have.
So you told me I needed to write this information on here, because this will become my sample.
Exactly
so
right.
So I know now the next time I go to do this that I have all of the information on this sample and I don't have to fiddle around.
And it's really good to put these in a folder. But, you know, like we haven't really tested it yet, so I suggest that we wouldn't possibly... I've tested the machine before, but if you're at home and you haven't tested it, don't write these down till you get everything right. Okay?
Fair enough too.
So now, what foot have you got on the machine?
I have the open toe foot on the machine.
Which is perfect for this sort of thing, because what we want to do, and this is where, I'll just bring this piece of paper in here, if we can just shift this out. we've just drawn 2 of the petals. Now, it's all about getting your stitches right where you need them. So we're going to be wanting to do the straight stitch right on that edge of that fabric. We're going to come in and it comes out. We do the next one, in and out. So you're going to have to keep your eye right on this edge. Okay, that's by using the open toe foot, it allows it to really do it. This won't be very even. But as we get up around here, as you're coming along here, just think about, we go across, in, out, across, in, out. So get in your mind the rhythm, you know, across, into the centre, back out. So as we get up here, you need to be really keeping an eye on everything coming around this curve to keep your stitches even. So we're going to go in, out, across, in, out, across. So you're keeping an eye on, because as we come around here, we're going to have to pivot and you may have to lift your foot. So on the way back out, oops, broke the lead, you want to make sure your needle is down, and you'd probably want to stop on the way out, right on there, lift your foot and pivot. But you can use the knee lift.
Yes,
that's one great
love
advantage
the
of the
knee
knee lift, because that's going to automatically lift the foot here. So you're just going to keep coming around to keep those stitches coming, because you don't want to hold the fabric and let these go like this, because it doesn't look good. Okay, so you just got to get that rhythm. Out, across, in, out, across, in, out, across.
Do you know what I call this? That's the learning curve.
Let's see how you go with that curve. But, you know, it's just all of these things, and that's why doing it on this practice bit. Now, we're back to here. Now, you'll want to stitch this way because you want the straight edge here and the zag to go inside.
The zag.
Well, it's not a zigzag, it's like a
just
blanket
zag.
stitch. But
so I'm starting on this edge here?
Yes. And you don't have to come across the bottom because remember the circle's going to cover that.
It'll be covered.
Now I want you to pull the bobbin thread up to start with.
It went.
Okay. Needle down, needle up, pull your bobbin thread. Okay, so you'll need your awl. Pull that bobbin thread up, and remember it's that invisible thread which is hard to see.
It is hard to see. Okay.
Now just lift your foot up. Not your foot, press your foot. I've got to get used to you. And put your threads underneath.
I'm an acquired taste.
Yes. Now just try and put your needle down now so that the needle's in position. Okay. So now you're ready to start. And you can move your needle position if you wanted to, but you've got a very open space there now. You can see exactly what's happening.
Oh, see, that's...
So you're a little bit off.
Yes.
So just move it in a bit, angle it, lift the pressure foot up, right. Now, and aim to come back onto the... And this is what your practice pieces are for, to get your eye in. Okay, so now you're seeing what's happening there. You're on the straight edge now, you're doing the in and the out. Straight edge. So you don't want to be on... You want the straight stitch to be on the cream fabric, not on your coloured fabric.
Okay.
That's it, now you're right. That's perfect. And you get used to the purr of the machine, you get used to the rhythm. You know, one in, one out, one straight stitch. And it'll be like when you were quilting. You'll start putting your foot to the metal, you know, as you get more confident with it.
I am not ready for that yet.
And if it takes you half an hour to stitch around a petal, don't panic. You're better off having a beautiful result than having a result that you have to unpick or something that you're not happy with. So that's excellent.
Isn't that lovely?
No, good job. So now you're finding it more confident now. You know where your sight of line is.
Yes.
It's like right on the edge of that So you're stitching right on the edge of the applique shape, but the straight stitch is going onto the cream fabric. Now you're getting up towards the top. So
is
you
this where I stop, or is it the next?
I would probably lift your foot now, lift the pressure foot, and just a tiny little bit. So this can be just little, very tiny little. Right, now lift again. That's perfect. Lift again.
It's not hard at all.
It's not. But for the people that don't have the knee lift, you would probably have to lift the pressure foot up. But it's not hard to do. So I would lift the foot
There.
Yep. So now I'd stop, lift the foot again. And I could notice you'd swirled it a little, you turned it a little bit more than what you've been doing, because now you're right at the tip of that curve. That's excellent. Fantastic.
It's got such a lovely rhythm to it, this stitch.
Isn't it? It's beautiful. And using a lovely contrast thread, something that's going to make that design really stand out, is what makes the whole...
Makes it pop, doesn't it?
It does. Okay. Now I'd come around a bit further. That's it.
Oh.
Oops, watch out.
Watch out, she's got a lead foot on.
And you're sewing with your left foot, which is really good because you've got the machine on the highest speed. I don't know if you know that.
No.
But you're controlling the speed there beautifully with your left foot. Your right foot would have you sewing a lot faster.
Isn't that naughty,
and
that
I
right
think you're
foot?
sitting with a beautiful posture. Now, lift your foot up again. I'll come out one stitch. Yeah, lift the foot. Now you're coming on a straight. Oh, a little bit. No, sorry, I went too far.
Too soon.
Yep. You're still on a bit of the curve. So now lift it up. Now you can go a lot faster because you're on the homeward straight. Look at you go. And see, now because you've gained your confidence with the rhythm, you've been around the very first curve, you've done an excellent job.
Look at it go.
You've got your eye in, you know exactly where that straight stitch needs to be. That's fantastic.
Ha ha!
You're feeling good about that. All right, so now you can lift the foot. Lift your needle. Now pull it away and cut the top and bobbin thread. You know, normally we would finish the threads off, we'd tie them off, but remember we're going to put the circles over the top of this, so the circle's going to stitch them down. Let's have a look. Look how beautiful that is. That is wonderful.
So nice.
That is fantastic. But we haven't checked the back to see if the tension's
Ooh,
right.
Ooh, let's have a look at the back. What do you think? Do you think it's going to be good?
I hope so.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Look at that. Look at that. Now, I do see that the top thread is coming through, so we're going to have to do an adjustment. So I don't know whether it's very visible there.
I can see that. You can see that pearly thread that we're using.
Okay, which it still doesn't look too bad. Like, see, it really hasn't taken much away, but let's do an adjustment to the tension and see if we can adjust that further. So let's push the plus button.
A bit more tension. So
yes, let's go a bit more.
3?
Keep going. Keep going. Let's try that. Now let's just do a straight stitch down the side. Because you've got the rhythm, you've got the stitch beautifully. It's just that we need to adjust that tension. Okay.
All right, let's go.
That's probably enough to give us a guide. There we go, it's getting much, much better. Let's put it over here under the light. So we can still see a little bit, so we need to go up a little bit more. So maybe go up to 4.
We'll do one more.
Do one more.
Little row there.
And that will mean you'll have to adjust this
what I've written on here.
And that's why I say don't write that on there until you get all your settings right. But this little sample, you know, I'd write on here that this was 3 point.
Let's do that.
Because, you know, different threads give you a different tension. Okay, we'll have a look at that one now. So over here, that's looking much better. Much, much better. So we're starting to get it looking like we need it.
That does look much better, doesn't it?
Okay. And you can keep adjusting it a little bit more, just in very small increments till you get it to be absolutely perfect. But I think that's going to look really nice around there.
And how nice does the applique look?
How nice. It's just beautiful. It really looks lovely, doesn't it?
It's very nice.
So now you're all set up ready. So this last tension, you need to write that down. So you've got it on 4. And I would give that a tick, so that you know that that's what you're going to use. Okay?
Very nice.
We didn't adjust the length. We left it at the normal length that's set into the machine. So you'll just write that down, which was 2.5.
And we're changing
so
this
cross
tension
that out and you put
to
4
be
there.
4.
So now you know they're your settings. So your homework is to stitch down your applique. This one here, I want you to stitch this down. And then I want you to do the other block that you've quilted. I want you to applique that. So when we come back next time,
we'll be ready to go with the next step.
I want to see your homework completely done. So have you any other questions for us?
I do have one little question.
Yes.
Where we start the blanket stitch here. Do we start here where this edge of this circle is, or start just a little way in?
Just like one stitch in from this stitch circle edge.
Okay, that's
just
great.
one stitch and come around and finish there. Don't come in here, because remember that circle, we're going to be blanket stitching it down, so that will hold all of these threads and the ends in for you, so they won't unravel.
Perfect.
So you've got lots of homework to do.
I do.
So till we come back next time. And next time it's going to get very exciting, because you know what you're going to do next time?
I don't know. You said there was a surprise next time. So
there is a surprise. There is a surprise. But it's not far off till you'll be joining these 4 blocks together in one of our Quilters You Go techniques.
And then it's nearly a quilt. It's nearly a quilt.
Few more steps to take yet, because I've got not one surprise but a few surprises. I've designed the quilt up in my head. Actually, I've drawn it on paper. But yeah, it's going to be a beautiful quilt when you finish. It'll be just a lap size, but it's a lot of learning in there. So hopefully you've enjoyed it.
I have. This is just lovely. I really have enjoyed learning about blanket stitch today.
And I think the other thing we should remind our viewers of, that they can watch this as many times as they want. And how are they going to watch it, rewatch it?
On YouTube, of course. And why not hit that subscribe bell? Ding!
And that's a really good idea, because by you subscribing to our YouTube channel, we'd love you to do that, because that enables us to keep putting more and more wonderful
content.
More content. But also that every time we put a new video up, the subscribers get a notification. So they'll get a message to say that PQW have a new YouTube video for you to watch. So we try to keep you up to date with what we're doing.
Yes.
And yeah, it's the best way we can teach you. Go back and, if you want to watch this setting up your machine 10 times, going to the YouTube channel, you can do that.
Do a little bit, pause.
Exactly.
Do a little bit, pause.
Exactly. Get a TV right near your sewing machine or a little iPad and do support us on our YouTube channel, because we'd love you to do that so we can, as I said, we can keep putting great content. But if you can't do that, that's okay. Just watch us as you are now, and we'll keep giving you some great information.
Yep, indeed.
See if this girl earns any more chocolates.
Chocolates.
Doesn't she want gold stars?
I miss my gold stars.
No, I think she's over the gold stars.
Do you know why I can't have gold stars? Because I'm not in kindergarten anymore.
You've moved on.
Not in kindy anymore.
But, you know, what do you get in preschool?
Chocolates.
No, smack on the bottom.
I don't know, Pauline. I don't think
smack on the
that's not allowed anymore.
No, I know. But, yeah, we might come up with some other things for you. We never know yet. All right, till we see you again. Bye for now.
Bye.
Right. Nice smiley faces. And...
What's going on?
Holiday.